coming there with their weapons, with their economic power and all that, with their desire to colonize, etc. The people that went there, they saw that there was something that they admired. It was Buddhism, because Buddhism was already known to scholars that studied Buddhism in the 18th and even in the 19th centuries, and they loved it. And some of the nihilistic philosophers like Arthur Schopenhauer, they said Buddhism is great because it's the religion of nihilism, like the religion that says that there is nothing. But it is wrong. It doesn't say that. But he saw it this way. And he said, that's the reason why it is the highest religion. And the Jesuits, like the Catholic, could say like, that went there, they had the same view, but this time negatively. They say, oh my God, that's the religion of nothingness. That's the religion that nothingness. So that's awful, that's evil, that's the worst religion. So it's partly in the middle of that we started to invent a new Buddhism, but that was invented in Asia itself. But now, what is Buddhism in the positive way? I think Buddhism is, and it doesn't mean, because Buddhism is like all the religion. There is the moral part, there is the political part, they are like everybody. But what we have made of it, in a positive way, and in Asia and in Europe and in the US, it is, in a way, I think, the positive thing, it is the methodology to be able to have access to what I call raw transcendence. That is the real promise of modernity. And through like what we call meditation, because what is true meditation? True meditation, it is not what some people do today. For instance, in self-improvement culture and all that. So they make meditation as something like if you had to fill your mind, like even when you say you fill your mind with energy, like to be more efficient if you practice meditation, for instance. But in fact, it's a distortion. It is not that. Real meditation, and I think the real, training of the mind is not to try to fill your mind up with energy or anything. It's to let it open. So to accept the void. That's the difference between void and emptiness. With emptiness, you have the feeling that something is missing, so you need to put something in it. And even if you pretend you practice meditation, you have many people that try to put something in it, like being more efficient, or what is the effect, or I'm so good in meditation, or I'm so relaxed, or that, or that, or that. But what is meditation about? Is just to face the void and to understand that it is the very freedom, the very liberty, that you're working on your own liberty. You are working on this thing that you don't try to feel at all. And by doing that, you are becoming more human, and you are, you are cultivating your mind and the freedom of your own mind by doing that. Not trying to reach something specific, but just leave it open. So when there is a thought that is coming, you don't try to grab it. Because if you try to grab it, it becomes some kind of a dogma. It becomes some kind of an image that you are attached to, and you become even conditioned by the image. It's like if this image was taking you out of yourself. And because we are in a society of entertainment, and everything is made in what I call the industrialism, to take your mind out of itself in order to consume, in order to do that, you are attached with so many things. Practicing meditation in the way that you try to not get attached to the image you project, that makes you out of yourself, that creates a space in which you can breathe, you can be free, and you can be like really modern without being, conditioned all the time.
So in Zen Buddhism, there's a story of if you're filling your cup, if you want to learn, someone's pouring water into a cup and then they're saying, well, look, it's overflowing. Why? Because you need to empty your cup first.
It's exactly that.
And then some people will say the point is the empty cup, but then it sounds implicit in that parable that you're then supposed to empty it in order to fill it. That's what it sounds like. So you're saying no.
Don't feel it. Don't feel it. Because when you are connected with the void, you don't have anything to feel. There is something that is opening that frees you from all expectation and that prevents you from falling, because it's like, how could I describe this kind of experience? It's why I call it raw transcendence. Every human being feels that. And it's what I said in talk we had at the beginning. What I say, the main feeling is the feeling of weakness, that there is something that is not complete, And so human beings, it's the mystical tradition, the spiritual tradition. There is science when you try to go beyond yourself, but with meditation, it's a little bit the same work, but inside instead of outside, where you don't take side. So in fact, in a way, you also exercise your critical mind when you are doing real meditation. As I said, you don't become dogmatic. You don't let yourself being grabbed by one image, You can see, it's called equanimity. You see that everything that is around, at the end, it's just images. That can be useful to do something, but just images. So in a way, they are equal in their status of being images. When you feel that, it actually frees you from anxiety. In my work, I distinguish anguish and anxiety. We are in a society that is dying, that is today dying out of its anxiety everywhere. Because anguish is different. The French psychoanalyst and a bit philosopher Jacques Lacan said something very important. He said, anguish is the only feeling that doesn't lie. And I agree with him, because it is the anguish of the void. We know that things are not complete. We discovered that out of our feeling of weakness, but we discovered it. It's actually true. So it's very hard to accept it, to accept our own freedom, our own openness. It's like we have the vertigo in front of a cliff. And so we always have the tendency to refuge ourselves with objects or with a theory or with a dogma that is finite, that will solve everything, that will solve everything, that will be security. And so the secret of freedom and of meditation, it's not to avoid anguish. You're not going to overcome anguish. You can't overcome anguish. The anguish of the void is structural, but it's not destructive. The anguish of the void could be transformed into an energy. That's what I call transcendence, is an energy to go beyond. So you have like someone that is on a string over the cliff. He feels the vertigo, but he faces it. So there is something that a heroic posture, or the saint posture for that matter, that allows you to walk your way on the string that is on the void that you accept. And it creates some kind of an enjoyment. Some mystic, they call like the enjoyment of God or everything, etc. But it's not attached to a specific religion, in fact. And it's what does Buddhism. It connects us to the heart of what is spirituality, so to make the anguish of the void being something positive, a positive feeling. But if you refuse it, you repress it, it will come back, because the repress always come back, but it will come back not being really, you're not going to be really aware, but you will suffer in different ways. You will feel that the world is empty. You will not be facing the void that is open, but you will face some kind of an emptiness that you want to feel. It will become capitalism, for instance. In capitalism, we are like obsessed with that. We think we are going to feel, but at the end, it's still empty, because that wasn't what we were trying to solve our anxiety. Anxiety is the thing that comes to you and you feel that you're suffering,
I'm
you
waiting,
don't
I'm
know
just chilling,
why,
I'm just like,
but in fact it's
waiting when
because
it's
you
ready.
don't face
I'll look
the
when it
anguish
closes, though.
of the void. So it comes like the anxiety of emptiness, the anxiety of empty moment, the anxiety that you haven't felt this moment, so you
it
go
not?
to your iPhone. If something is happening that you have missed, you feel that you have missed something, and you are going to the cinema, or somebody is doing something else somewhere, or you want to become richer, etc., 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 etc. It is this anxiety, and that provoke also that makes our world accelerating all the time, and not making the time to see the beauty of the void that is in nature itself.
I was interviewed on a podcast called the Julian Dory Podcast, and on it I said something akin to, in our culture, we believe that we're unhappy because we're mistreated, but rather we're morose because we've accepted a worldview that's rendered this world lifeless, and that if we could see the animated splendor in almost everything, then maybe we wouldn't be so tormented. So in other words, we believe we're despondent because we're deprived, but rather we're lost because we're blind to wonder. So I want to know what you think of that.
I think it's wonderful. And I even think that there is something pathological in the way we don't want to see the wonder. And in fact, during the first part of this session, we were talking about materialism. I don't know if you remember, we were talking about materialism. In fact, I renamed materialism. In my work, I decided to call it inertialism. Like when you say that something is inert, that means it is dead. More exactly, that means it is passive. And when you say, because I say when we use materialism, I said I don't have any problem with materialism because materialism means mater. That means etymologically the mother, so the mattress, the thing that gives birth, that can go beyond itself. And the beauty of it is to be able to go beyond itself. So it's pure transcendence. It's raw transcendence in a way. But when people talk about materialism, in fact, they are talking about inertialism. So they think that the world, our universe, is made of bits of dead things.
Static that can be grasped.
Exactly. Things that are passive. And it's even what is pure determinism. Because when you are having a deterministic view, that is totally, in my way, totally absurd, even on a logical point of view. And it is still the main view, that everything is determined, totally determined. When you say that, that means that if you take any object, every bit of things, I don't now use the word matter, of things, when you say it's totally determined, that means that everything that happens, even in the component of the thing itself, is determined from the outside, right? Means it's something that is outside that has pushed it.
Yes.
Right from the beginning. It's what it means, right?
Exactly.
So, in a way, you will say, okay, so you take any object. This object is entirely determined from the outside, but that means that any object that is outside this very object is also determined from the outside. So where is the dynamic that allows those things to actually being related to each other in a dynamic way, in an active way? So I think there is something inside, but not inside, thinking about inside, like we could say like inner, more than inside. The object, what we call things, that has its own determination. Otherwise, I would say he couldn't even move. He couldn't even go to some place.